All right, good morning, guys. Let's go ahead and start our live stream. I'll be on in a few minutes. I want to go ahead and get this going so we can get people to join. All right, as we get people to join, I'd like to talk a little bit about where the market is at the moment. All right, let's go to our screen. So the market had a very erratic week of trading, a lot of emotion, a lot of whipsaw price action across the market right now that we're seeing. I still see two scenarios. We thought we had resolution to that going into Tuesday. We thought we were able to kind of finally nail down the scenario we were going to get for the next 3 months of trading. We weren't able to do that, unfortunately. And so going into the week, as you remember, I mentioned we had two scenarios. We were either going to correct into the through 26 like 2022 and potentially have a pretty big pullback against the April cycle, then rally pretty much until Trump leaves office in a blow off top. The other scenario was we just start to rally and pump and have a mega pump into summer, September, and then the markets peak around October, and we have a more of a 1929 style situation where everything has been pumped to the point where there's no part of the market left to rotate into but cash. So those are the two scenarios. I didn't see a 3 or 4 or 5 scenario. Like, those are the two. So going into Tuesday, we thought we had the decision. Market made the decision. It didn't, right? As of Friday, we know it hasn't. Tuesday, we saw a big sell-off, a big gap down. So we thought, okay, here it is. So now we are going to start this correction, right? Or maybe a crash in the technology sector, business on SPY, right? And some may argue that's a third scenario I should consider, that the SPY and Qs have peaked in the grand super cycle and will crash, never to see these highs again for a long time. And then the IWM and Dow Jones go on to make new all-time highs, similar to the 2000 top. I don't see scenario number 3 possible yet, and for various reasons. Although, from a chart, can I force it? Sure, but I don't think it's possible. Okay, I think it's just 2. So we saw this gap down, a big rally, a lot of enthusiasm, almost looked like exactly what a 3 of 3 would look like, and then of course this little market accident on Friday, and there was a lot of confusion from a lot of people out, that trade and invest about the metals and what that means. And in fact, it was creating its own fear just because it shouldn't be doing this. And there must be something breaking that I don't know about. So I might as well get out of the market before that's discovered. And then I don't have time to get out. So I think prices going higher in the metals is to the point where it's actually the price is just frightening people. Now, we have been saying on our channel all along the metals were going to go higher, and we knew this for many years. Many videos substantiate this that you can go back and watch. This is the moment we've been waiting for a long time in the metals. We're in this 3 of 3 moment. As you can see, this is the 3 of 3 type of day. If it ends, let's say Monday, we start to sell off, well then we would put the first 3 here, right? And then we would have a series of 4s and 5s to play out. So we would still likely grind higher. But early in the week is the opportunity for berserk mode. For, let's say we wake up Sunday night, Monday, boom, gap up, gap up, gap up. So this is berserk mode. So we're in berserk mode territory. So I can't tell you where this ends. I have a good idea of where it probably does, but we just are in uncharted territory. What I think this is telling you, when I look at the market and step back, I think it's telling you that we're starting to see some kind of inflationary pressures build again, and also we're seeing the dollar fall. Okay, now, right? And we talked about this dynamic with the dollar. We said that if the dollar was not going to make this new high, because the idea of a correction scenario where you get a correction and then another high would be the dollar higher, the market's correct, and then the dollar lower. The market's pump, super pump into our target for the dollar, and then everything crashes. Now, if we do not get this move, which it doesn't look like because this is a huge breakdown right here on Friday, then the dollar index may be telling us there will be no more correction, that now we're going to break down. The historic bear flag on the dollar will break, will be breached here. This bear flag will rupture, and then you will play out the flagpole, maybe the first part of it. Now, I believe that if that happens, the metals this will be rocket fuel for the metals and commodities, because that's what happens when the dollar is weak. We also need to have a serious talk about crypto, because if something like this happens, crypto should benefit. Although the technicals, if you look at the chart on its own merit, doesn't show this yet. But if you're super bearish on crypto, if you're all in short, you do not want to see the dollar do this. Because if the dollar does this, I think crypto has to go higher, right? It would be a head scratcher to see the crypto not do that. If the dollar does this, right, you're going to see the pump. You're going to see the scenario where everything melts up into the fall. No correction. Even though the market deserves it. And we have seen those signs with the Dow Jones wanting to go higher. The IWM has already made its mind up. We know where it's going now, right? It's just correcting this little leg now. So the SPY and Qs will just follow suit. But it hasn't decided yet. The triple Qs have not decided. We're still up on this downtrend line. But if early next week, if we get something like that, then this scenario here isn't going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. This isn't going to happen. So you got to understand that. You got to understand where we are. So this can be invalidated. This correction is about to be invalidated with the technology sector. Again, whether it's you feel it's like overbought, oversold, whatever, right? It doesn't matter, right? This won't happen. So you need to understand this situation that we're going into. So the market, the dollar index is the only instrument that's showing us that we may need to think more bullish on these two indices, which is the melt up scenario 2. Okay, the dollar index is telling us that, but it's one instrument. It's only one instrument, and we can't trade based on what the dollar index does, but it is worrisome for the bear case. And if you thought silver went up, tremendous today, God help us what it's going to be like when we're down here in a free fall. I mean, I'm telling you, if you thought Friday was exciting, you haven't seen anything yet in the metals when this happens. Okay, you haven't seen anything. So just understand that situation that the market finds itself in at the moment. Okay, you got to understand that. We do expect more downside on the dollar index because we have this lower low here, right? We always forecasted it this move down like we have. That's why we have this box, right? This box has been here. It's just the timing of it in this consolidation, this timing. And it may be ready for this move. So that's one of the things we're watching. We're also watching a couple other, bonds, like the 2-year. So the 2-year is showing something interesting. We have this 5 waves down and this flat, and we're breaking out of this wedge. This will create a bounce in short-term rates. Not good. Inflationary. That's inflationary, right? But I think we take another leg lower. I think we take another leg lower because the 1-year shows just a 5-wave move down. And we know we can't end a correction on 5. We can't put 2 here. So the 1-year is showing you'll probably bounce and go lower before this really big pump, which is probably the crash across the markets. So this is probably, some kind of little, inflationary, mix up, hiccup. And then this is more of the melt up like wave, right? So this was telling me, well, maybe we will sell off and then pump, right? Sell off and pump. And we saw that with the 30-year as well. Sell off and pump, right? But when you look at the dollar index, it doesn't support that. So this is in conflict at the moment. So we need this resolution because I believe if rates go higher on the short term, I think the markets would be under pressure. That's what I would expect. But we need to wait and watch this play out. So if we do see this start to accelerate lower, that would change the view. So we're keeping an eye on this situation. But that's the view on interest rates right now. The dollar index believes this is more tied to the metals and commodities, is saying pump. The Japanese yen we talked about was eventually going to come down lower. And I mentioned this, guys, with the yen. And I said that the yen can strengthen, but it doesn't need to do that because of yen carry trade or the Central Bank of Japan raising rates or getting hawkish. It can strengthen because the dollar index collapses, right? And I said that multiple times, which would be great for the markets. It wouldn't hurt the markets. It would still allow this technical imbalance to resolve, but it would do it in a way to still pump the markets, okay? We saw that on Friday. So again, a lot of the chess player traders are confused by this dynamic, but I said that's why we can't trade just on the yen. Oh, the yen strengthens, it's bad. You can't do that because we have seen a new dynamic emerge where the yen can strengthen against the dollar because the dollar is being essentially obliterated. We have also seen emerging markets start to break out. Emerging markets, if we go to the emerging market index, EEM, okay, EEM is extending, right? We still have it as a 5, right? This would be that correction in the markets, but it may not. We may have this divergence, but I want to show you the bigger picture. If you really zoom out and look at this index, this is going to break out and create a big move higher. This is massive in dollar weakness, okay? So dollar weakness is in the future. The dollar index is going to be in a lot of trouble in the future. The question is the future now? Or did we have a little more time? Were we able to buy us a little more time? And I'm wondering if time is up. I wonder if the time is up. And it's just too much pumping, too much, talking about the Federal Reserve, and discredited them, and also printing and all this, and indices higher at all costs. It may have finally broke the system and broke the confidence in the US dollar finally. That why would I hold dollars if it's just going to be pump and print, and then you're going to put in a federal chair that's just going to lower rates even though they're not supposed to? Why would I ever want to own a US dollar right now? And that's what investors are thinking, because they're thinking 2-3 years ahead. They're thinking, wow, if a Fed chair is going to come in soon and he's just going to lower rates when they really shouldn't be, then what the heck am I doing here in dollars? Maybe I'd be better off in metals, which also has industrial demand that will protect me and help me benefit as well. So it protects me from two problems, right? I get the benefit from two issues. So the money's piling into these metals. The metals, right? People are like, well, when can silver break something? Well, silver may break what? Okay, does it break the solar industry? Because you can't get metal to make solar. Like the metal that breaks the world economy will be copper, and it's not near the breaking point. It's not near 5.9. It's not near. So copper's where it breaks. So we saw oil once do this back in 2007. Oil went up, and oil went up to the point where it broke the system. I think it was $140, $150 a barrel back then. I watched a grown man cry at the gas pump pumping. That was the day I knew it was probably at the peak. When we had that kind of, it was the opposite of despair, right? I was pumping the gas literally next to a guy crying because he couldn't afford it, and it just was so high, incredibly. The system broke. Like, it's a governor on the system. The system couldn't function with oil this high anymore. The whole system shut down. And there's videos online about this. This is easy to know. You watched it happen in real time. Food riots, everything priced because of energy went up, and the economic, engine of the nation, of the world shut down because it got too high, and it self-corrected. So people expect the metals to do the same thing, but the problem is these metals aren't used like oil is throughout the global system. But one is copper. Copper's the one. So when copper moons like silver, and it's going to do that, it's going to moon. The chart's already made that. The technical damage to the upside's already been done. No matter this pullback in two, sure, it can go deeper, but the path has already been set. It's lit. The fuse is lit. It's too late. So the damage is done. So copper, I think when it gets to like $20, right now it's at 5.9. $20 is just shut down the world economy like oil did, but it will shut down producers. Because you won't be able to build nothing. You won't be able to get nothing done with that kind of price of copper. And everything will just shut down. CapEx will just shut down. All the dreams Trump has of bringing back plants, all those projects will be stopped. They won't be economically viable. It'll all shut down. It'll go to like boom, just like you saw in oil. That's the metal that will shut down everything. Everything. So watch copper, guys. Copper's the one. That's the one. Silver, platinum, these palladium, they could affect industries going too high, but who cares, right? And perhaps these industries can just raise the price or something, or work around it, substitute out, okay? But copper's the one we need to watch. Copper's the one we need to watch. So copper is the one. So right now the market, if you look at it, the Dow Jones could be still correcting in this flat that we have here. And it could even double correct. It needs to stay above 45,744. Okay, it needs to do that. As long as it can do that, more upside is likely, and it will have its own 3 of 3 moment of wave 5 of the grand super cycle. IWM has already, I think, communicated to us its path. It's correct. It looks now, IWM, this may not, this here, we still could have 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So this little pullback, that may have been the final shakeout, and again, Monday we wake up and it's 3 of 3. So we don't know. I suspect it's not. I suspect we have 5, but we could still label it. If I was a perma bull here, I could go 1 2 1 2 1 2, and then it's out. But I think the path is clear on IWM. So I look for a correction. I'm looking for a correction of this cycle, but it's going to take a lot of pressure in the market to break all this support, because think about it, the bears had a chance here and here, many times, and even here, and it wasn't able to crack this level. So why would it do it now? Right? Only thing is, now you have all these sellers that have, exhausted their ammunition, and now you have this breaking out. So my guess is 2 will correct, and then you'll get its 3 of 3. Now the SPY, right? There's a few people I follow that expect more upside. One person, very well respected, expected 820. We could see that, or I would expect it to potentially even go higher than that if this really gets going. The only way this happens is if the AI sector get that big cap tech FANG down, FANG goes higher. So you'll need to see breakouts across all of those markets. Apple and all these others. You need the household names, the conventional, big cap tech to do its thing. Then it needs to get going, all of it. If it can do that, then this will break out into its own 3 of 3, a real melt up. But if that cannot happen, then this path is still valid. Okay, when you look at those markets, that decision hasn't been made yet. In fact, the bear case looks pretty good at this point across that sector, and I call it the AI basket. And you saw what happened to Intel, right? That is soon going to probably be AMD, soon going to be Micron, soon going to be SanDisk, soon going to be all these other Intel will maybe just the first domino in this. If that continues through earnings season, this is the path we're going to get in the SPY. It's going to pull back. The Q's the same path, right? So we show this bearish path, a correction, and then a smaller correction, and a smaller correction. So these could be deeper in technology, and these may be not as deep, but it does show the bear case. So if you ask me what scenario do we still have, I still think we have the correction against April is still the scenario in play, not the moon pump. However, the dollar index is the first piece of the puzzle that tells me perhaps moon pump is starting to assert itself. And if it does, we'll start to see that with a triple Q breakout next week. So the triple Qs will decide this, I think, once and for all next week, because if the triple Qs can break out, then I believe then you're in the melt up scenario. Okay, you're in a melt up scenario. All right. So we don't, as of today, what the information we have, we would just be guessing and hoping, but the data shows downward pressure. And the only clue, the real big clue to me from a complete melt, it's a complete melt up, then crash and fall, would be the dollar index, what the dollar index did on Friday. Very surprising. This is very surprising to me. So this is telling you people abandoned the US dollar and they want it in other currencies and assets, obviously the metals, and they don't want to hold dollars anymore. So something's going wrong with the financial system. So Powell needs to do something when the metals were pumping, like the system crashes, he does emergency rate cuts and emergency QE. He may need to do the opposite of that to save this if this really gets out of hand. Rate hikes, he may have to do but with the political backdrop, he'll never do that. And then if the new Fed chair comes in, he's not going to do emergency rate hikes to save the US dollar. They're just going to trash it. So the dollar is in a lot of danger, and the dollar is telling you perhaps a bigger melt up is coming. So if you're really a perma bear out there, guys, you need this. What happened on Friday really can mess up that forecast, because I cannot see how the markets crash with the dollar doing this, because everything's priced in dollars. That means therefore assets will rise. Everything priced in dollars. Now there may be some things that may not benefit, but for the most part, earnings, the translation of earnings from foreign to domestic is better. So global companies benefit from a weak dollar. So I'm just telling you guys, this is huge. And obviously breaking the B here would be the pretty much it. That would, and then you're in this free fall. Okay. So the dollar index is telling you we're in uncharted territory. And also, it's hard for me to process this happening in crypto still crash, but maybe it can. We trade each chart on its own on our own channel. However, crypto still in the bearish channel that we have in bearish, so it's still bearish as of now. But maybe this will save crypto. Maybe this will save crypto if this plays out. But we do have this. It's a major breakdown. Okay, it's a major breakdown. So that's all I want to say on the market overall. If you're more interested in it, you can subscribe and join, and I update the market like this every night for our followers and members and give people my thoughts on it. So let's go to your questions. I appreciate joining, and let's go into our super chats here. Qbit, quantum computing. So we had this nice buy here a long time ago, nice big pump. And we have another buy area here that's holding up. We do see a higher high here that indicates likely you will get another leg higher despite this pullback. I look at this count in two possible ways. This is the more bullish interpretation of it here. You would find either it's made the low already, and Monday you'll be a very happy person. You'll come out of this like that, very happy. The other possible path is you could still double correct in this too, come back down, try to hold $10, but ultimately you need to hold these lows at 946. Now we only see 3 waves up, so is it corrective? And you see we have this divergence. That's typically not a corrective move. So I'm leaning towards this bullish kind of accumulation here happening, and then eventual breakout. Quantum looks like this to me across the board. We'll go into IONQ in a minute. So this is kind of leaning towards, like, this would obviously be more the market pumping, right? If something like this were to happen. But I believe the path is clear with this higher high here. Okay, this higher high here, right? And we saw this, people like, well, who cares about the higher high? Higher high, who cares? You know, who cares about that? Well, I always say the higher high from an Elliott wave standpoint means the market can't peak with a B wave, right? It means it's going to have an extension even though it's in a flat. So typically the market has to peak in 3 waves and you have an incomplete cycle, right? It basically has, you basically have not a failed cycle, but you basically have a cycle that's incomplete to the upside. And this is just a shakeout. You know, someone posted one time on my channel, the great trader Jesse Livermore, whoever he was in the 20s, 29, that made millions of dollars, I guess, short in the market only to buy the dip too soon and lose it all, and he ended up killing himself, from what I understand. And that's why, guys, hey guys, when the grand super cycle ends, that's how most people will lose their money. They'll buy it too soon and lose it all. But that's another point. But my point is, he traded and he used a higher high as a clue to go long. Now, I don't know what system he used, but that was an excerpt in his book. Now, I read that. I thought that was interesting, that he used that as a signal too. Now, my signal's different per reasons. GME had the same signal, and our pro group was following this signal, but we had it here, a higher high right here. And that's where we expected at some point we would swing back and take this peak out. We would come back and take this peak out, no matter what happens here. And that's where we had kind of this buy area, right? And then we came out. And now we did. It happened. It just took a huge path to get there. So I see Qbit in the same situation. It's the same kind of idea, but it takes patience. It takes being calm and not expecting instant gratification. And if you do those things, it usually works out. Not all the time, because the count can be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I always say that, maybe I'm wrong. But if you're patient enough, you're okay. On NUAI, all right, did a nasty double correction. We did end here, and then it decided to do another 3 swings down, double correct. That's always possible. Double corrections are part of life in the market. Even you can even do a triple, some instruments, before they can recover. Looking at this from the count standpoint, something like this right now. So it's probably in some kind of 4 wave. It really needs to turn higher here. If it can't turn higher here, you have a risk of a flat where this is big 3 waves, you know, obviously WXY, and then this turns into 3 waves and it comes all the way back down to retest this low and then come out. So I think, you know, you got to be careful, but typically you don't see that when you have a flat. That would be like a flat in a flat. Very rare almost unseen, unheard of, because you've already have the shakeout, right? The flat here created the shakeout you needed, so there's usually not enough sellers to drive it down any further than that. So there's a lot of people probably still skeptical. So I think it just continues to grind higher. BLNE, same thing. I think we forecasted this on our channel earlier, and there's just more upside. We could top soon and then pull back deeper and then come out. LAES, this elbow down looks like it's probably the turn of X, but we need to confirm with the RSI, and we don't have that confirmation just yet. So when we look across this, as you can see, we're nowhere near confirmation on the daily cycle. The 4-hour would be the first clue that something much more bearish is coming, and you're not there yet. So what that means to me is, it looks like it's the turn, but you don't have confirmation. You look, the 4-hour cycle's just crossing over. The daily cycle's just starting to turn lower. So I would be very on alert here for this peak. But we may not have it. If the market can come back and take this out, this would create more of an impulsive structure, and it starts to potentially negate X or extend it much more substantially. So for me, the bear case really needs to hold here, and we want to see this push lower. Pepsi is one that we've been charting for elite members since the very beginning. We had our buys at 127. It's been taking a massive amount of patience, just like the GDX did back in 2023. Now in 2025, 26, everyone loves the GDX. And I think the same thing people will say about Pepsi in a year or two, but right now it's just taking patience and time. It's more of long-term investment. If you're looking for instant gratification and a quick pump, go look somewhere else, because this is not ready for something like that yet. It looks like it corrects. It's ready for wave 3 of 3. Now, typically this happens when there's risk off in the market and people rotate into staples. So that's what I figured would happen, and that supports more of a correction is on the horizon across the market as investors flood into the staples as a safe haven trade. Okay, that's the idea. Now, if we were to break this low, right, we could still be, we're off 5 ways off the low. Again, we have another flat here, so we could go lower. It's always possible, but at some point we should recover this high, especially with the higher high here, and then more upside. And then that's the 3 of 3, the so-called easy money, right? But many traders won't benefit from because they didn't have the patience to wait through this. Now, again, my charts, I probably should clean these up. We probably don't need all the labels anymore here, so I'll just get rid of some of them so we can see it a little better here. Just kind of see it a little better here. Okay, so we have there something like that. Again, I just want to clean it up. On the bigger picture on Pepsi is correcting the grand super cycle on that dip. Okay, so we had 5, and it's a grand super cycle correction. So this could be a major low for the corporation. Now, if this fails, now we should get at least another swing higher, 3. If this were to fail and go lower, well, then that's still possible in the grand super cycle, and that would give you Pepsi at $80 or something like that. Okay, so you got to understand that too. We're not near the all-time high yet, and but it does look like it's trying to turn here. Okay. ConocoPhillips, not really as strong as the other energy producers, but it does have a bullish chart at this point, and looking at some kind of 1-2, and then we have 5 up, 1-2, 1-2. So I think ConocoPhillips looks okay to me. Now this looks corrective, so I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a dip back down to 89, 88, and there was actually an opportunity to buy that dip right around 89. Okay, so Now, same question. Is it corrective? Could it be corrective on 3 waves up? We want to look to see if divergence is erased. Here, we want to we need peak erasure divergence. We don't have it, right there. You need to have, like, because typically corrective moves short squeezes and then that's it, and then it goes lower. So we don't have that. So it's not likely corrective, even though by swings it could be. The line in the sand 79, if that breaks, it's kind of like abandoned ship. Oxy is a different structure. It has a lower low, so I do think it goes lower in Y, and it technically has to hold 34.73, and we'll see if it can happen or not. Now, if we go higher and break this peak at 45, C will extend. This will become a 1-2, and then we're probably coming back up to 49, but it could still be in a corrective pattern. Despite that, it just means more of a sideways market. Because of this lower low, it's very difficult for the stock to try to get going. And you have to remember, there's many energy stocks well above their April lows, but these two aren't. So these are kind of the weaker ones. And we talked about when energy does finally correct, the stocks that break the April lows, you need, I mean, I personally won't want to trade them or invest in them. Okay, that's my personal views, but maybe I'm wrong, but I'd rather buy stocks that are strong, like ExxonMobil, stuff like that. All right, FCX here, pulling back. Looks like a 3 is done, and we have a 4. Now we know this could be another one too. Ask the investors in Newmont and AEM who tried to time the market how dumb they look right now. Okay, I'm not suggesting time the market. This is time to hold and print your money, because you got to take a look at the bigger picture. It's coming out of an inverse head and shoulders pattern, basically, that has existed since 2007 for almost 20 years. Okay, it's breaking out like what I had, just like I had. Why would you ever entertain selling it is beyond me as a day trader. This is investment. This is a long-term investment. And that's why we were stacking it back here. This is why our strategy was a little different. I was like, just keep buying it in 3 waves. Buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. If you would have followed that, you would be very happy right now. Almost double your money. And probably if this is a 1-2 here, you'll be really, really happy. So right now you have this 4 wave that's trying to pull back as of now. You could get in on the trend at 56.83. So there may be an opportunity to buy the trend in this box. If you're super lucky, it's another 2. And then you get the easy money. And it's almost not fair, but it is what it is. Now, is there a bear case? I always say that. I always like, what's the bull? What's the bear case? Again, I follow traders that do this all the time. Right? Some people hate that. Oh, it's only a bull. You got to pick one. No, we pick both. We have to think about what's the super bear case. Well, the super bear case is a flat off of this peak. Okay, so super bear case would be something like A, B, C, back down to somewhere around $18. How can that happen? I mean, let's just think about it. How can that bear case develop? Okay, how can something so catastrophic happen? Well, we would have to have a massive recessionary scare, negative GDP print, a massive shutdown of the world economy that just happens, rug pulls, a COVID part 2, something to that effect. Everything just shuts down. The whole system is stopped in its tracks. That's the only thing that can do it. Now, there's black swans out there. Yeah, there's always nuclear war and someone said, oh, aliens are coming and all shit like that. But guys, in the reality, it's a remote chance. The chart does show that that's possible still. Now, once we break this high in 5, that is invalidated. There's no more, that bear case is invalidated. All right, then the most bearish view becomes just correct in this wave. And you're likely just backtest the support at 52 and that's it. So understand the bigger picture on FCX, guys. Okay? Understand that. Understand this situation. Okay, you want to hold. I really hope you don't get too silly trying to time the market on something like this. All right, Indo Indo is looking pretty good. We have just trusted our charts and we haven't overthought it. We're just doing what Bitcoin holders say, hold, right? They just say hold. So that's what we're just hold. We just hold. So we have this 1 2 1 2 1 2. Believe it or not, the structure of the chart is bullish, a bearish sequence down. So we just keep labeling the chart and it keeps going higher as of now. So we look like we have 5 waves up and perhaps we'll make another correction here, right? We see we have this divergence. It almost looks like it wants to race divergence again. So it shows 5 waves up with a pullback, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 1 2 1 2 and then it's go time. So I was joking with members, like when we saw this break out a little bit here, I was like, oh, is the war with Iran back on or something? And then I started finding more and more news yesterday, last night, that shows that we could see some strikes even this weekend. So this chart may have peeped the insiders may already know this, right? And they were loading up last week. They were loading up. But we will know soon enough. So this is the conventional view, but I can't rule out it just starts to go vertical next week. IONQ is another one like the other quantum stock that has another higher high sequence. It's likely to make another swing higher in Y at some point. If we look at this graph, we have a flat that finished. We have 5 waves up, 3 waves down, and then 5 up and another flat. So the question was, what's a good level to buy it? Unfortunately, Friday may have been the last time to buy it. You may wake up with a gap up. That's the ideal situation. Now, if you do not get that gap up, then there is a possibility you're in a correction, and this is a connector, and you're still in this two. And so if you do not get that gap up, the buy area would be at 41.81. So there is a small window to buy it again on a 3-wave W, X, Y. But of course you need 38.15 to hold. If not, it's a different type of pullback, but it's still, I think it goes higher in the future. But it will definitely be pretty nasty, right? A nasty sell-off. So there is like an invalidation point, right, to the bull case. But from my point of view, there's no reason to think it would do that unless I'm just like trying to be too perma-bear across all the instruments. We know sectors can move. We saw space. They pumped a lot of propaganda around space about a month ago about, servers floating around on the moon and shit like that. And everyone bought the space stocks again. I expect the same thing will happen with quantum in the next probably week. And everything, there's going to be a lot of propaganda with quantum and maybe a big invention I think, and I'm waiting for it. I'm just like, when's the news going to hit? Where's the propaganda? Because they're going to do it. It's going to be flooded with propaganda and boom. And then everyone will pile back in again. GME was, that wasn't a question. I was asked that. So IONQ is down in this area here. And that's the next, maybe you can get it there. I think you'll know really early next week, because if this count is a 1 2 1 2, then you should be gapping up on Monday, Tuesday at the latest, if this is the count. So you'll know very soon. Okay, you'll know very soon. Okay, which path we're going. We can look at some higher time frames, like the weekly. See how it's kind of quietly opening up slowly. Right? It hasn't broken I don't like the elbow down, but the stochastic oscillator is open, is slowly trying to come out. Let's look at the monthly. Monthly still looks like crap, right? Weekly is good. Daily looks like crap a little bit. So maybe if I look at the daily and weekly, maybe we get the pullback down here, and then the monthly can finish, and then everything can rise. So maybe that's what the stochastics are telling me as of now, right? Right. Elliott wave theory would just say, oh, it can go now. But I look at the stochastics, so maybe a little bit more leaning towards this dip here into this box. But remember, if we violate this level, then it's going to take another leg lower. And this will turn into an impulse, a big A wave, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or something like that. And then we would correct in a big 3 waves and then come out later. Okay, that's what will happen. But I believe the technical, it would be a broken chart from a bull standpoint if this low can't hold. It has to hold. It has to hold technically. Okay, so we'll see if it can. I think we'll know next week. Alrighty, guys, let's take a look here. BASF here. BASF and Xterra. We saw 3M hit a box, right? 3M hit a box and looks pretty good on the long-term charts. How about this one? Big nasty bear. So you see all the peak here? That means we're obviously we're going to see a more upside in the future. But within this wave, there's your peak. So that's probably a 3 and a 4. And that's probably an extended 5th wave of some kind. So now we need to find where the low in price came. Right there. It looks like it almost pierced it. So it held its technical level. It held exactly where it needed to. So it essentially came back to hold this low. Barely, though. Almost breached it. That would have really messed the chart up. All right, that would have really messed the chart up if that would have happened. So this low has to hold. Now, if that low breaks, it would double correct back down to 1181. Pretty devastating. So we know that this low has to hold. So is this corrective or not? When you look at this, you don't really see any divergence here on the weekly, right? Nor the monthly. So that's typically a corrective bounce. So now we need to see, is this impulsive coming down? And it is. So I think you need to be really careful for the double correction. We also know the wave 5 is usually lost on an extended 5th wave, right? Right? Let's take another look at this. 1, 2, 3. So we probably put that one there. And just kind of looking through this chart here. Just want to get an idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So something like that. But see, I don't like how we overlap. That's too much overlap. I wonder if we need to be labeling this in 3 waves and not 5. Sometimes charts move in 3 waves and not 5 waves. You know, I look at this, it still looks like an A and a B. It just looks like this. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at it from point of view here. See a lot of divergence as it came down. You see how it's trying to break out of the downtrend? So it's only showing 3 and 5. So C, B. I'm just trying to think, is it some other corrective structure we're not seeing? C, B, A. So yeah, I think we're going to label it in 3 waves because I think that would be the only way to make this chart work. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then something like this. Right? That would allow 3 waves up. And then that would allow this to do W and then some kind of X, Y. something like this, and this is an A, B, C. A, B, C, D, E, B, C. I think it does something like this. So I think it's just kind of a wonky chart that moves in 3 waves for whatever reason. That's the personality of the instrument. We see this a lot in Chinese stocks. Okay, so it's not like uncommon. And then here I would just continue to label it in 3 waves. Right. So based on, I mean, when we looked at that RSI, it looks like it wants to break out, right? Look at that. I mean, it looks curling up. The monthly's curling up. We know there's charts in this sector that are very bullish long term. So I believe this will hold something like this. Okay, good luck on that one. Thanks again, guys, for the great analysis. And I'll go through your comments and questions after I get through the super chats like I normally do. CCU. CCU and TE. Let's see here. What is going on here? So we were looking for this kind of spike higher. Just, it was in this kind of middle area. We'll see if it was going to correct like we were thinking. It looks like it's already starting to turn higher, right? So we probably need to go with a more bullish interpretation of the chart. Let's take a look here though and see. Let's get rid of some of this so we can kind of see it better. So we have a lower low here, chopping around. So let's see here. It's probably a flat there. So I'm looking for something like this. Again, very erratic. Very, very tough to trade. I definitely never trade instruments that look like this, but good luck. I hope it works out. But something like this. TE. All right, let's take a look here. Looks like our box. Man, look at that, guys. I hope it worked out for you. Now, this looks like an end in diagonal on a 5th wave, but let's look at this closer here. Get rid of that. So we got this big pump. That buy ended up being a really good opportunity like we expected. Likely a race and divergence here. Did not do that. Look, so this is a big 5th wave as of now. Yeah, wow. Okay, so you need to be really careful. This is an extended 5th wave. Okay, so yeah, this big dump is valid at some point. Now, where are we on this? This looks like end in diagonal, so we just do it in 3 waves and call it done. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're getting very close to the end. Maybe one more push higher. Depends on how we label this. Again, C3 can't be the shortest. So let's take another look. Let's look at it a little more carefully. Yeah, we're gonna step back. ABC there. 1, 2, ABC, 3, 4, ABC, 5. But it held. Then we erased divergence. So we would call this still extending, but then we can't have that the short. We're going to have to label it impulsive then. There's no, I was trying to label it like an end in diagonal, won't work. So we're going to have to label this like an impulse at this point. That'll be your 3, but that's pretty deep. And see how it reset the cycle? Very, let's look at the shorter time frame on this one. Okay, see, it's impulsive. So we will label this as a 1-2 here. And then just label it based on our understanding of Elliott wave, rules. Another 1-2, right? Too much overlap here. Now this could be a lead-in diagonal here. So let's take a look at the RSI. That's what we're seeing here. So this part is going to be like a lead-in diagonal coming out. Yeah, 1. Well, see, that's impulsive. Yeah, I'm trying not to label it like perma bullish, but I think that's the only counts that work for me. So, I'm not sure why people are FOMOing into this, but we have to go with a more perma bull count. There's really no other count I can come up with at this moment in time. Okay, so we have, that's the only peak that bothers me right there. I don't like that. It did not go below there. Let's look at the 4-hour. See, it's holding the structure. The perma-bull structure is holding barely. So the data supports this count, as crazy as it is. That will obviously erase divergence. So I don't know if they just, if there's some big news or something, but I wouldn't recommend selling it. Now, if you can see the RSI on the 4-hour break this level of support, then we have to force this kind of being a leading diagonal here, and we would correct at least back down to 5. The truth is coming early next week. So how much more upside is possible? I mean, it's really just use your imagination. I would use chart support mostly. It's probably what it's running into here. Look at all this massive resistance. Look at that, right? So that's what it's running up against. So if you can break through that and flip it, right, it should have a quick spike, maybe up to 1251 as the next level. And then finally, the final level, 15. And then if it breaks 15, it's, you again, use your imagination. This looks like bulls basically wrestling control, and it's about to like melt upward. It's almost like we see this a lot with altcoins right before they pump. They'll have what looks like an end in diagonal look, kind of a bearish pattern, and then it breaks out straight up, and people are like confused. That's why pattern trading is not always like 100%, right? Because one, you would wait for the pattern to break. Well, that's what they would say, but this may be more bullish than you realize. Okay. All right, then the next one is CCU. I think, did I cover that? Yeah, I covered that. Okay, thanks. Next is IVN. Another miner. And you can see here, nice little wave. More than likely, some kind of 1-2, 1-2 here. 1, 2, right? And then another 1, 2. 3 of 3 probably hasn't happened because the peak is so early in the wave. This looks like some kind of flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And so you're coming out. So this is about to have an explosion higher. Some divergence. Looks impulsive, right? Now this little bit could be over. So this could be you could see a little correction coming, right? And pullback. How much upside? 3 of the grand super cycle. I wouldn't even be thinking about upside. I'd be thinking about how long do I want to hold it. I mean, honestly, you can just use your imagination. Like imagine if you asked that question back here. We're like here right now on this chart. That's you're right here is like being right here. So on October 2016, if you would ask me at $3 how much upside is left, I could have said $5. But I would but I mean, look, it eventually went to $21, and hell, it's going even higher. So upside's kind of based on your time horizon. I think it's obviously in a bull trend. I believe, just simply we could look at how the wave 3 extended, right? There's your 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can try to see its extension. So it typically, kind of like a 2618 extension is typically what you see before the next peak, like major peak. Probably like $38-40, somewhere around there. All right, that gives you an idea, $38-40. But it could take time. Like, look, to get to the wave 3 peak from here, from these levels, it took years. So it may take years. It's about time horizon, not trading, right? That's why my channel is good for. It's like longer term positions where you don't have to watch the market all the time. You can just get a position like FCX, tuck it away for a rainy day, and just be printing money. And you don't need to worry about, you can go play golf or fish, and you don't have to have your life glued to the trading screen, right? And you know money's coming in. Like, that's the kind of like ideas we try to present. Now, I do present some of these pumps if I can see them, but my channel's not geared to that. It's geared to more of a longer term viewpoint. Okay, so I do believe that this is what you're going to see here. All right, guys. I appreciate all the positive comments too about my membership. I know a lot of people benefited. Like I said, my retention is actually pretty high. And I think if anyone in the outside world knew, they would be pretty much shocked by the success we've had. And I'm not shocked, but I think, people that don't understand what I do, or, maybe don't believe in this, what I'm saying, they'll be shocked that it's successful, because it kind of goes against, you have to, my system forces you to challenge your way of thinking about things, right? Think of an unthinkable, hyperinflation, right? No one likes to think about that, but we got to think about, also consider these unthinkable thoughts. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with that, with doing that. And it kind of is surprising to me that people aren't comfortable, but it does. It makes people uncomfortable. But we have to pressure test all possibilities, all outcomes, to get the right idea. And we've done that pretty well on our channel. Okay. All right, HB, some of these other ones. And again, I can't stress enough, energy, metals, and miners is not something I'd ever recommend day trade. You need to just buy and hold. If last week didn't convince you of what happened, then I don't know if I can convince you. But those are not stocks to just, those are they were long-term holds, guys, and I really hope you understand that. Okay, here's another one. Again, we had this going up. Looks like it just no dip, right? It became a 1-2-1-2. So the perma bull chart played out, And look where we have it going. I mean, look, see, a lot of people forget that when they watch my channel. They're just so focused on the short term. But if they looked at the long term, right, they could, you know, avoids being a penny wise and a pound foolish, right? Oh, I'm not going to buy it at 5. My God, I'm going to wait for 4. But look what I'm telling you. Look, I have it going to 19. So do you really care at the end? You know, and I never recommend people chasing, but at the end of the day, like, you know, at some point you have to pull the trigger, right? So this was one that showed, you know, once you got the breakout sign, the market just did not give you a chance to get in on it. Now, looking at this wave, you're in a 3 of 3. So it can continue to extend. It can easily continue to extend right now. But let's take a look at where we are. I think that's the conservative view. It's about to peak in 3 and do some 4s and 5s and then correct and then keep going. I don't recommend selling. IoT, let's take a look at what we got going on here. We haven't looked at this in a while. So we had this big pump here. Probably we'll put, let's get rid of this, not really relevant anymore. Probably we'll put 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4. So maybe 3, 4, and 5 like that. Put 3 here. Put this big 4 somewhere in here. 5. Let's take a look at this cycle. All right, weekly cycle, you can see. Now see that 3? Where's the peak in 3? Right in here. So is that a 1, 2, 1, 2 or not? So we have the peak here. I mean, I would have preferred to see the peak in this general area, not all the way down here. So there's a possibility it's a 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. I'm almost leaning that way, but let's take another look. Yeah, I mean, you don't. To me, this is. It looks like we broke the low right here. So yeah, it looks like we're doing a double correction. It looks like to me we've only made 3 waves up. So we are well charted as a 3-wave move, a W, right? I think we talked about this before. Some kind of A, B, C. So this one's more bearish. You have a break, you have a lower low. So I'll give you a level. $18.41, somewhere in this area. So I would be looking for $18.41 here. All right, general area. And basically it moved in 3 waves. So this was obviously some kind of also A, you know, B, and C. So, and it's going to get worse. Adobe, Salesforce, they're all going lower. Okay. So software is bear market territory. Like grand super cycle bear. I mean, that's, if so, I'm not surprised this is software. Okay, PG bottomed here. It's bottomed. So this is the bottom. It truncated. In like Pepsi, it's about to see perhaps next massive leg higher in its grand super cycle. Now, like Pepsi, it could always bounce and fail and double correct. Okay, it can always do that. And I'm not sure why they're different colors. It doesn't mean anything. I don't. This must have been a very old chart. So we have 5 waves up. So this cycle's done. So we could start. It could start the whole new grand super cycle wave 3. So we don't know yet, but it's likely to trade it bullish, right? If you're hoping for a big crash, it's probably not going to happen now, right? Because we saw the sector turn. So it looks like you got that bounce. And you have some divergence here. It looks like a 3 of 5, some kind of 3 of 5 maybe we're in. Let me see one more time here. Actually, I would label it as a 1, 2, 1, 2. So it'd be like a 1, 2. And then this looks like maybe this is this actually, right? Something like that. And then it could become a 3, 4, 5. It could become a 1, 2, 1, 2. But you see that divergence there? It doesn't seem like to me it's corrective. So I wouldn't label this as a corrective bounce yet. Now, when we get this 5, it could be, but I don't think so. So I think it's got more upside coming. Okay. I have a feeling that's a major low. We see the breakout of the cycle here. A clear breakout of the cycle. And the weekly just broke out. So you have weeks of gains ahead of it. See? Just broke out. So, to me, a correction's over. Right? Correction's over. Alright? CMPNG. Alright, looking here. You know, look at this. Maybe we should put the 5 here. Call it a flat correction. Back down. Looks like it's probably close to the bottom. Yeah, we're going to label that as a flat correction. So we'll put the peak here. So we're pretty much right on this. Just a little bit there, but pretty much expected that big. Like again, we lose the 5, but it looks like it's almost over. Okay, right. Let me label this for you and see if we can get. It's important to label this top properly. Yeah, so something like this probably. Okay. So we don't, the way to trade this to go long is you don't bottom fish, wait for a bounce, right? Buy the first pullback. The bounce, wait for the bounce that corrects the whole cycle, buy the first pullback against the low. Does that mean you get the exact low? No, but that's just the way it goes. It's but it can still keep melting down. Right, it can erase divergence and keep going, and this could become a 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm not saying like buy it now, but it's probably close to ending. Look at the daily RSI, and when it breaks trend, right, then you know the correction's over. All right, so it's not over yet, but it's close. Okay, it's close. All right, and that's what I've got here. And then let's look at IOVA, a biotech. All right, biotech. All right, and let's go to the monthly. Make sure I see the whole thing. Okay, we like that it held the low, right? So it's not a go to zero yet. It held the low. Whew, that's good. Okay, now it's right up on the. Oh, it's right up there. Right, it's right there. Now we only see 3 waves there. Let's look at the weekly though, because we really need to kind of zoom in on it. Yeah, I mean, it looks like to me. See, it's close enough where a double corrected here. So this is one of those small cap biotechs that, you know, are right on the edge. You come back into the low, and there's a few we're watching that are like that. Very small risk, super massive reward potential, and this is kind of one of them. Okay, and maybe we label it something like this. Like that. Right. I'm just kind of thinking about this for a little bit here. See, I don't like that. So 3. So maybe we have to put the A here, 5 here. We're gonna have to do some more subdivisions to see if we can make this make sense to us. And then it's a big extended 5th wave up. So no divergence at that peak. So again, maybe like but we have divergence here. So again, I have to go to the daily and look at that wave, the wave at the top. So I have a little bit. Just want to see this. So that's like a 1, 2. That's another 3 here. So my guess is this topped somewhere around here, and then you put 3 there, 4 and 5 like that. That's what I'm thinking. And then it corrects, and 3 and a big double correction. You have your first corrective move, and then it came up, and then it made another correction. So it's got to hold this level. So it's essentially, other than there's always gap down risk, especially with these big biotechs, right? But outside of that, I think it has to hold 170. So if it can hold 170, I mean, good God, I don't know. I mean, if this looks like 5 waves up, it should create another swing higher. The bullish structure needs to be maintained. We can look at it from the monthly point of view. We see it's curling up. We see this across many of the small biotechs. So they're about to go into a bull market for whatever reason. The RSI hasn't confirmed. The stochastic RSI is curled up. So I think, let's look at the weekly. Still creeping higher. Starting to elbow back up again. Yeah, very tough. It's a very tough chart. Daily's open to the upside. So I suspect we keep the bullish interpretation for now. Now, the problem with this kind of chart is if you break these lows, it could turn into a lot of other things, and I wouldn't recommend trading it anymore. Okay. All right. Again, and American Airlines, again, upside is all about time horizon. So American Airlines chart has been, I haven't been talking about it to members because of this setup. Big picture, it's going to come out of its 20-year pattern soon enough. Don't worry, unless it goes bankrupt. I don't think I don't think Trump is going to let American, airlines go bankrupt. But maybe it will. But it's going to be tested here soon. Okay. And then something really awesome will happen. And I don't know why this will happen. Perhaps, perhaps it will go bankrupt. Maybe this will never happen. But I would say the question is how much upside sustainable. Right now, I would say no upside. I would say it's danger of a meltdown. So I would be very careful in it, especially right here, right now. That B may be done. Yeah, see, it just missed the box and turned. So you need to be really careful in American Airlines. Is this foreseeing an energy pump? What if oil pumps? Well, we know airlines, the worst thing for airlines is high oil prices and a mini recession or consumer, pullback or whatever you want to call it. So there you go. And it will be tested here. And if it breaks this low here, it will probably need a bailout from the government, like some of the airlines did back in the day. So this is the chart on American Airlines. To invalidate this view, right, from my point of view, we would have to come back and actually take out 26, 27. Now, if it can do this and survive this little pullback here, right, the upside, I mean, if you look at this kind of pattern, and you can see the pump that would emerge, right? Right, we would probably see, like the wave 3 typically pumps significantly in airlines. This would be in a 3 of a super cycle. But I mean, the airline here pumped beyond the 4236. So, I mean, it could pump beyond that. So we could see an extension, we could see like $250, something like that. But why would that happen? Is that hyperinflation? Is it really, or is it because the consumer is just travels free and oil prices is like incredibly cheap? Like, I don't think so. So I think, that kind of upside potential, while it seems ridiculous, may actually be bad. May say something bad about the world that we're coming in. But I do think this is the short-term view. The chart says it will pump. If we get wave 3, guys, in American Airlines, that's the kind of pump we're going to get. And that's got to be hyperinflationary, right? As all assets, the US dollar has collapsed. And it isn't like, and ticket prices is like $10,000 to go from like Atlanta to wherever. And it's because our dollar's worthless now. So everything just adds a zero. Everything just adds a zero. That's what would have to happen, I think, to get this chart to do that. But right now, we've been sticking with this chart and it hasn't let us down yet. Okay? All right. American Airlines. All right. Tilray, let's see here. Oh, you want it. My bad. Well, I gave a free update for American Airlines. Anglo-America. Is that what you mean? LSE, Anglo-America? So I may have done the wrong symbol. Yeah, sorry, I did the wrong symbol. Should have took a minute to read it. But you guys can see it here. Hit myself with the chart and we can take a look at it. So again, think penny wise, pound foolish. We expected it to higher. It looks like it's ended the correction, right? So it's done. So no double correction. So it started in the next leg higher, right? 4-hour chart. Our chart shows a 5, so we should see a pullback soon. Based on what we're seeing. But look at the 4s and 5s. So this pullback is these are dips to be purchased. Now, your question is how much sustainable upside. It's the same conversation we had. It's about how long you want to hold it. Because look, you have a higher high here and you're breaking out. So, I mean, the upside, at least, we can look at. Now, its wave 3s don't look like it extends very much. So I don't think it has a lot of upside potential. We get the 1618. That's the typical view. So 6736. Okay, that's that on that one, which could take years to go to get there. All right, Tilray, this is one that we've just kind of kept an eye on, and it looks like it's already started its next leg higher for now. So we'll put that 2 in, and it's trying to come out of the correction. So as of now, looks like we see 5 little waves here. Let's go to the 15-minute view. Yeah, little divergence. Reminds me of Indo, what Indo was trying to do kind of quietly. So, as long as you stay above 861, it could creep higher and higher. Now, we could still be in this too, as well, but you have started the next leg higher, right? Does that mean, oh my God, buy it all, go mortgage my house? And if a stock like this or any small stock you have that is making you worried or keeps you up or bothers you, you have too much money in it. I have a lot of small stocks too, but I could care less. They go down 10%, 15%. I'm like, who cares? Because it's small money, because the upside potential is so large, right? I don't need a lot of money in it to benefit. This is an example of one. So there's a little dip buy. You could try to buy this at 878, stop at 858 if you want to try it. to play a bigger breakout. Okay. All right. So, excuse me. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So we see it there. Now, if this breaks, right, we need to look at how far we've bounced. So as you can see, we do need another push higher. Look at that. You see that downtrend? So I like to trade it on the bull side, give the bullish case the benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't want to like, I'm going to short it here, but there is possibility this low can break. Okay, and if this low breaks, what's going to happen is C will extend further, right? And then this would become some kind of 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then it will come back to test this lower area here. So we'll see if it can turn or not. Because this looks like 5 waves up, that gives us just a little bit of an edge that it won't do that, because it typically 5 waves up means the trend is higher, not lower. All right, fuel cell, definitely have my eye on that. The problem with fuel cell is trades in an ETF that I'm not convinced is bottomed, but will eventually. So again, pound wise, penny foolish. Look where I have it going. Do we care? It's $10, $8. I mean, again, that's up to you. You can decide if you care or not. I just want people to know this, okay? Because they're like, oh, you didn't say the buy. Like, look, they forget my bigger picture forecast. Now, I still think it can double correct, but if we take out 1095, then the next leg of higher is started. Now you see, you only have 3 waves up, 3 waves down, 3 waves up. This is a really bad area to be in. Okay, it's a really bad area to be in because you buy it here 50-50. So this can easily double correct. Easily do it. The only reason I think it could still do it is it trades in an ETF that I tell my elite members about that doesn't look like it's bottomed yet. And because of that, you would think it would go down with the ETF it's in. Now, if it doesn't do that, then it's going to go into a trade in its own world. So we need to just, I suspect a double correction. I really do. And that would be more downside coming. Now, if we break this level, and we might, then we have to be more bullish on it, right? Now, it could still turn into something more like we could do a flat and all that, but I have a feeling it won't do that. I mean, let's look at the 4-hour. I should have looked at this earlier. Yeah, 4-hour race and divergence here. That has erased it. So we have some kind of ABC here. This looks like 5 waves up here, but it doesn't look like a corrective swing, that 3 waves. The 4-hour cycle does. No, maybe it doesn't either. It has a divergent top. So I think it won't double correct. I think it's going to go higher. Based on that, because this is going to break this peak because it's not 3 waves. This is not 3 waves. It's not 3 waves. It's going to turn into like something like this. So right now we'll say this. We're going to go with this view for now. And then we'll expect a pullback on 5. And then more upside. So we're going to go with this view for now, something like that. Because once you break this high, it should open you up to break this high. And then you would just have to be wishing for a flat, but there's no reason to forecast a flat based on what we see right now. Right, because this was a completed correction. It just truncated. Like this correction's complete, so there's no lower low here. So there's no reason to think of another low. So I would I just label it this way. So it looks like perhaps you get another high and a pullback. Maybe this allows the ETF to find its low that it's in. But and again, this could be pretty deep when this happens. Something like that. And members about that was going to break higher, and that didn't disappoint us. We were in this pattern, right? 1 2 1 2. I said all these 1-2s, and now we're out. Now we're in this the 3 of 3 mode. This is just using your imagination mode, right? I don't know if there's any divergence. In fact, we have a little bit on the shorter cycle, so we will keep it conservative. We won't be a perma bull, so something like this. But look at all the 4s and 5s. Look at all those 4s and 5s. I mean, it's just more upside. There's really nothing more to analyze other than buy the dip in 3 waves, and the massive support will be at 2,300. Like, you will really want to stay above this area. You want to, anything above this area, it's going higher. Once you flip below, then things can get really ugly really fast. In platinum, we are seeing a breakout. It's in blue skies. It's in no chart resistance, right? So maybe it can go to 5,000 an ounce. Some people said it could go to 7,000 an ounce quickly. I don't know. It could do that. Who knows? But we would recommend staying long on 3-wave dips. And I was mentioning this was building an explosive move, right? And we may still see it continue to explode higher. I wouldn't be surprised if the metals does a natural gas type day. Remember we came in last week, natural gas up like 20%, 6 sigma move. I wouldn't be surprised if we see double-digit percentage gains in the metals at some point in the real mania. Like silver, platinum, those things up 15% one day, 20% one day, like that type of movement. I know it's like people, again, their minds can't process that. Why the chess player trader can't understand that. Oh, the Bollinger says that's not allowed. They don't care. The market doesn't care about Bollinger. Do you think the solar manufacturers like, I'm not going to buy silver today because the Bollinger bands are too wide. It's outside too far. No, they're like, I need to produce my panels and I need the supply and I'm not going to be able to get it. So I'll pay any price I can to keep my $1 billion revenue stream going. What do you think First Solar and all these companies are going to be doing? They're going to be like freaking out. They're going to pay whatever they have to pay. Because they're talking loss of hundreds of millions of dollars in these industries. So who knows how high it's going to go, right? Who knows? Who knows how high? What people will pay. And they don't care about Bollinger Bands and shit like that. They just buy whatever the price is going to be because they're talking survival of the company jobs. Like, you better believe they're in crisis mode right now this weekend, these places, if they haven't. And they're like, what do we got to do to secure our supply chains? Every check we need to now. And then you're going to start seeing these companies buy miners, buy the whole mine, hostile takeovers. So these miners that are undervalued, they're going to start pumping because people, once the first one happens, that's what's going to happen, because they're going to say, shit, I need to just buy the whole damn mine and buy the whole thing for myself, because we're talking the survival of the companies, that's what you're going to start to see, guys. That's probably what's coming. And that's the mania mode. And that's what's going to create the real shitstorm, that's going to come. Right, and that's when the buy button will be removed from people like you and me. That's when you won't be able to, and the paper market will separate from the real market. That's going to all happen. Okay, anyway, let's look at AMC. AMC's in meltdown mode. It's like American Airlines, could go to zero. Could wake up one day and have bankruptcy declared. I'm not saying it will, but it could. This is our chart. As long as we're below 179, the next leg lower has started. And we could see like waterfall selling, panic selling like we've never seen before. And the same kind of, sell-off and capitulation that we saw in most instruments. And it may not survive this. So I'm just telling you guys, if you're in this, when this happens, it may go to zero forever. And then we'll have to find something else to trade on our pro group, because I won't cover a stock like this anymore, because you just can't. There's no opportunity here. Now, if it can come back and take this level out, it will actually create a pretty big short squeeze and pump. Okay, so one of the things going to happen, it's going to melt down, find a low. When it finds this low, there's opportunity for a big pump. There really is. But there's no guarantee. It could go to zero. If it goes to zero, it goes to zero. You lose everything, or the shorts, win. If it can do it now, then the pump will begin. So, is the Russell bullish enough in the market to kind of take this out and then just call this finished here? I still think there's more downside. All right. INOD. Let's see here. IOND, KTOS, FIGR. All right, IOND, old chart. Let's take a look at what we had. We had it going higher as well. Looks like that's what it's been doing. Right. I think that one's pretty straightforward. It's totally followed our path. But let's look at this a little bit closer. Yeah, definitely an impulse. So put 3 there. Now this is a higher degree 4, so it could always double correct. We do see 5 down. So I think it's in danger of a double correction based on the 5-wave down move. And this looks like a 4 and a 5, not a flat. So I would be worried about a double correction. So as long as you're below 67.96, you are at risk of a double correction. I'll give a box just in case that situation emerges, and then you can have a dip buy. And then we have to look at it. Could be too deep for a 4. Yeah, see, that's 18. That gets you back to the last wave 4 cluster. I mean, that more than likely, if it does a double like that, it would turn into a 1-2, 1-2. Okay, it would be like a 1-2, 1-2. But when you look at it, it looks like that's what's going to happen. Maybe it will truncate, but I think this is the view I would go with. And then another, it should continue higher from there. KTOS, Kratos. Continues to be panic bought by investors, but it, like all good things, comes to an end. Looks like we're finally seeing that divergence off 5. Finally starting to see a 5th wave emerge. Yeah, I mean, it's been moving in 3 waves. Because look, it's corrected. Look, it's so far. So it's moving in 3 waves. But that's good that it diverged then, because that means there's more upside coming. Yeah, this is tricky because there could be Y could be a 5 wave. So this could become A, B, C. Y could be done. This could be the first pullback and here. I mean, this, I guess I would just use the RSI to guide us. It looks like you're still in Y. And you haven't finished it. So we're going to label it this way. One, two, three, pull back. And then something like this. Yeah, so this would be a buy to dip. This is buy to dip. And we could try to see if there's an opportunity. You have a small little connector wave. So this is either 5 down. So if it's 5 down, you do this. Right? And then you can buy the dip. Or it's going to crash correct. Right? It's going to crash correct. And then you can buy that dip. So I'll give you the crash correction dip buy. And that would be at 92.35. Right in this box. So that's kind of crash correction dip buy. Usually they don't do that. Typically they come in and start to rally. And then to do something like that. But because of this higher sequence here, it's likely to go higher. FIGR. Figure technology. Looks like it's in 4. Right? But it's so early and there's so little data available, you're never going to know for sure. It's tough to do this. It's holding all the technical support. It looks like 5 waves up from here. So now it needs to do the 5. It may not, because we know some things move in 3 waves, right? We talked about that. So it could go deeper and do that. So this is not enough data to analyze, but based on what I'm seeing, I would say as long as you're above 60.49, I would play it on for more upside, right? And this is some kind of flat here, something like that. So I would expect more upside as long as that low holds. If not, it will have its own little, it would either turn into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really fail, or it will crash correct in a WXY. So this is a very important low. So it's got to hold. If it can, the bull case is still alive. Iron, we're expecting another leg lower. We did get that pump that we, at first I was kind of but it showed signs of it. We got the pump. Now the bear, again, this is about the bear case or not coming through in the marketplace and crypto and the dollar index. Look, let's just face it. If the dollar index collapses, this is likely to go higher with crypto. I really don't think crypto can go down with the dollar index collapsing. This trades somewhat with the crypto complex, even though it's not crypto anymore. But it will be, it does infect it. It does trade with the AI basket, which we know is too pumped. It needs its own shakeout. So I do think it has another leg lower. Okay, I do think it has another leg lower. So next leg lower, if that's the turn right there, it's 1593. And that would be a really good dip buy. A really good dip buy. Now, we already made 3 down. It doesn't have to do that. Okay, it doesn't have to do that. But we only have 3 up. Now, if we come back and take this peak out, then the low is in, right? And then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We should correct and go higher. And that would be, and of course, we would be aggressive buyers of that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then pull back. But as of now, this moment in time, it shows this count. But it looks like it's about to be invalidated. And this is more that melt up scenario starting to take hold of the market. And guys, again, penny wise and pound foolish, look at all the upside I have on this chart. I mean, so again, bigger picture, remember the bigger picture. I keep trying to tell people why time in the market is so tricky. Bigger picture, look at all the 4s and 5s that still yet haven't happened. So this will end soon. Okay, it will end. But I do think as of now there's danger of a pullback, and that's the bear case of we're going to correct April cycle, and we're going to see the AMDs and the Microns get obliterated like Intel. They're going to something's going to happen in that AI, Nvidia, all of them, and then crypto on top of it, and that's what this is. Okay, this other wave is none of that happens, and it's complete melt up. It's a wild, free for all higher. And it'll be like a free for all, and it may be for all the wrong reasons. Like I said, aka major inflation, hyperinflation, currency collapse. I know it's unthinkable, but look at the charts. The charts are suggesting that this scenario is starting to take root, and once psychology infects the marketplace, it's hard to erase that. Once people lose confidence in a currency, it can collapse very quickly. That's what world history has said. And they did. I mean, they may have just, too much pumping and printing and too much shenanigans and, scandals and things, and just, talking crap about the Federal Reserve, people losing confidence and the system, and they see the bonds and like, how are we going to pay the debt? And they'll just print their way out of it. So why would I want to own dollar? So they may have just destroyed it, and once that hits, man, it's hard to erase, because once the general public no one's gonna want dollars, and that's the fear. And you see the emerging markets, you see what happened Friday, you see the metals, And that's the one scenario the nation has never been faced with, was hyperinflation. Never been faced with that scenario. They've been faced with the Depression, Great Depression. And so they're so afraid of the Great Depression. All our thought leaders in the economy are so afraid of the Great Depression that they just did this printing and printing and printing and printing. And everything is solved by printing more money because, my God, they don't want to be the Fed chief overseeing another Great Depression. So everything is about printing, but they overdid it with COVID, and now the damage is done, and now it's too late, and now you've got pumper, president who wants to pump and print and lower rates when maybe you shouldn't do it, and now the system could collapse in the other way, the Venezuela chart, and look at my X feed, Venezuela's stocks mooned when their currency collapsed, hyperinflated, and their accounts went up, but they couldn't buy nothing anymore, and the citizens went crazy and everything else. So I'm just saying, guys, if you think that can't happen, you have to think again. It can happen. It can happen, and it may be a way to the pendulum may have swung. The Great Depression crowd may have swung so far to quantitative easing as the solution to all problems, the cure to all recession, the cure to no economic cycle anymore, that the pendulum went too far one way, and now the system is going to correct itself this way and force people into this austerity, or it all breaks down. I don't know. We're in a very important inflection point, and the price of the metals are telling you that. Okay. So let's look at the next set of stocks, PBYI, and SEDG. Puma had that box down here. Sure, that worked out. That's a nice little biotech buy. Let's see how this turned out here. 5 waves. Looks like 5 waves to me, moving in 3-wave increments off the low. Very clean chart. So we'll look for a pullback and more upside, right? And again, look at all I have. Again, guys, look what I'm showing. Okay, yes. So we should see a pullback. It may not happen, though. It may not happen. But Puma Biotechnology, I think we covered this in a live stream multiple times, and that idea worked out. But now, again, if it's 5, it should pull back, maybe somewhere down to $4, and then go higher. Solar Edge, likely that lows in, and we want to see it continue higher from here. Let's look at the shorter time frames, like 45-minute will be the one we want to see. So let's take a look here. We have no divergence at that peak, so that's always worrisome. But let's look at our wave count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, I mean, looks corrective. All right. So I'll give you the wave count that we see right now. Why do I say I think the correction is over? Is the sector is trying to break out right now. Now, that breakout could be false, but we've already seen solar start to break out. So I think right now, what we'll label it like this and see what happens here. And we can get a lead-in diagonal. But once you take this peak out, then we know the low's in. So don't want to say the low's in just yet. Now, if we can't take this peak out, right, then by our chart, it will take another leg lower, right? It will go W, X, Y. And that would bring us back to, I'll show you the next level. Right? If I can get it lined up just right. That's pretty big deep, 1664. That would be a real big annihilation. So we'll leave it this way for now, because this is more realistic, and we did see the sector break out, the sector ETF break out. So what does that mean? It was a higher high. You see this has a higher high. But as you can see, the higher high doesn't mean instant gratification. It means, usually they pull it back. So the ETF may have done the same thing, made a higher high. They may slam it back down. And if they do, fine. But the path now is open to the upside. So we'll keep it this way for now. But yeah, we need to hold this low. It's not like perfectly clean. And this is a chart we watch for our members. I know this company very well, but it wasn't presented as a buy because of this structure, right? It was not clear, right? There's a few that are a little better, right? And if you're not an elite member, I gave another idea for a solar manufacturer like I did with FCX that we're going to play the long game on, and I believe we'll have same kind of money gains in the future on FCX. I gave that video on Friday. So Thursday night. So Solar Edge looks, I'm going to go with this count for now, something like this. Okay. And then LPSN. Again, I can't tell you when to sell, right? I'm down 60%. Should I pack it up? Unfortunately, I can't tell you what to do with your money. I can't do that. All I can tell you is here's my chart, and then you have to make the decision. First, my lesson learned on something like this is once the stop is low, like once we broke this low, right, and even this low, that's like time to abandon ship. Now, if you look at this count, right, and I can't tell you what to do, but you see 3 waves, that could be done, and then that means that's done, and that means this is done, right? So, do we know that? Do we know for sure? Well, we don't have a turn yet of the trend. We don't have a change of trend. So see that. But I think it's going to try to do that. Now, we should have erased divergence here, but we didn't. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly looks okay. The daily doesn't. So what does that mean? It means it could still be a little bit more downside left. Okay, so we will still expect it to go lower, but perhaps we're coming closer to the end than the beginning. We just don't know yet. I mean, it looks like 3 here. Now, this can turn into a lot of different things. We're still in this leg. Let's look at the weekly. So there's a possibility, and again, this is why you need to be really careful, that Y can finish here, this leg, but because the daily cycle didn't erase divergence, you do bounce, but then you make one more push lower. So that's also possible. So very, very tough to bottom fish this one. I would be looking more at the longer term trend lines and looking for a turn upward. So this would be my first, let's see, so this trend line isn't helpful to me because it's only going to tell me if that leg corrected. This is the one that would tell me that the whole correction's over. So you need to come back and break this level. If you can, then I think it's safe to say X is in. So you'll have to decide how to handle it from here. And I always use losses as a learning experience. Believe me, I've been there too. Or and once in a while you let your emotions get the better of you, and you're like, damn. But I've always felt like every time I've taken a loss, I've always been like, okay, it creates there's new opportunity somewhere else, and I've always made up the loss every single time trading. My account balance always grows over time. Yes, I hate losses. I hate them. They suck, right? I mean, and there's been times where I get jammed up, right? We're human, but you just take it and you just gotta move on, right? You move on. Now, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you, but I felt like because I trust the system that I present to you, I've always been able to recover from any loss that I've done. In any big loss I've ever had, and I haven't had one in probably 3 or 4 years because I'm much better at my emotions. But 3 or 4 years ago, right, I get better you get a loss and you just have to walk away from it, and you just have to just close it, and then you build back. And they say that the success rate of a trade idea that they may present to their member is 50%. So you're like, how can someone survive been alive trading, provide for their family as a trader for 30, 40 years with a trades that have a 50% success rate. It makes no sense. But the reason that system works, and my system works, is because they cut their losses quick, but they let their runners run, maybe years even. That's why that system works. That's how you can have a 50% win. When I say win is the box, you hit the box and it works. Like here's one where you hit the box and it failed. Trade idea didn't work, right? You should get out. But some traders, their win ratio is 50% on boxes, right? They post, and he posts that. He says that. And think about that. But yet, he's been able to provide for his family for 40 years on trading. How does he do it? Because that's the system, and that's our system too. So you take your loss early and quick, and you don't think about the symbol, and you leave it. And then you go to something else. And then when you find a winner, you just hold. And you just hold until you find something else that's better for your money to go into, or you feel like you need the money somewhere else, right? Right, it becomes too big of a position in your portfolio, whatever your criteria is for selling, or maybe you need the money for something else. So that's my point. So this is a chart. Unfortunately, this is the chart we have, and you'll have to make a decision. But it is a big breakdown. If you look at this from a chart pattern trainer would look at this and go, "Oh my God, this is going to zero," right? Because you have this massive overhead resistance. It broke a neckline, it backtested the neckline, and now it's being rejected. Okay? A lot of traders will just actually short these pops until the market can show them otherwise. All right? BTDR and Hive, let's go to that. You would hope that a dollar collapse would be good for crypto, if that's what we're going to see. Right? Wouldn't we want to see that? Right? All right, we are looking for one more low. Something weird, some weird correction. Now, this could be too big for a 4. It's right at the edge of the limits of it to me. Still in the bear case, right? Still in the bearish trend on the higher time frames. Still bearish. Still bearish on the monthly. You still broke the trend on the monthly. You're still in the down. So make no mistake, it's bearish. You see how this pumped so much? Massive hidden bearish divergence here. Look at the price. So much lower. Look at the RSI. Almost back to where. So this is massive pump. So probably want to relabel this just a little bit different. Probably want to, what I'll probably do here is relabel this leg a little bit differently. We'll probably label this I think we're still okay here. Yeah, I think I want to just kind of take a step back and see if we're in a different structure in B here, or X. I think we're in like a really, like some kind of triangle is trying to develop. So I think it's a kind of a different look for X here. So I'm going to try to label this differently than I had. Right, it's going to have to be something like this, I would think. For now. Let me just kind of take another look at this. I just want to make sure. Yeah, see, I don't like that because we took that peak out, so that's not going to work. Let's go back. All right, let's go back. Yeah, 5A, B, 3 waves down. So I think you know, I don't know. Maybe we need to put the X in here, but let me study this a little bit more. See, I don't like that fifth wave that it made. That's the problem with this chart. Made this fifth wave that needs to resolve now. Unless it's a run-in, you know what? Maybe it's a run-in flat. Let's look how deep the RSI pulled back. It's pretty deep. Let's look at the weekly. It did not give us that run-in flat. Look, if we would have plummeted a little bit more, we could go with a run-in flat. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go with another leg lower. There's really no other chart that makes sense for me that I can go with. So again, not a clear chart. It is still bearish on the higher time frames. So we'll look for another leg lower to happen because it's 5 waves down here. And I can't put a run-in flat here. So I think it goes lower, and perhaps the turn is already in. We'll know only in hindsight if that's the case. I think it's about the crypto bear market, right? If the crypto bear market continues, we're going to have to plummet a little bit and then recover. Hive, let's take a look at what we have here. We can get rid of these subdivisions. We don't need them. Whoops. Don't need to see these subdivisions. I think you guys get the idea. So Hive is the same situation. We have 3 waves up, 5 down. So we do expect one more leg lower at some point because it's 5. Right? If it was 3, it would be different. It's 5. So we do need to see another leg down. Now, we've seen before these legs down just go like this. Sometimes they truncate. Right? They don't have to be the equal leg. Right? They can just truncate. They don't have. It doesn't have to do this. It just has to make another capitulation low. And again, that B could be in. Right? Like crypto. Crypto could be ready for the final push lower to our final targets that we have. Is this possible? That looks like 5 down. Let's look at the 45-minute, and we do see an impulse. So it looks like to me it's starting its next leg lower. Okay? And then we should finish up 5 waves down, erase divergence, look for the bounce, buy the first pullback, and you can't go wrong. And then what you're hoping for is a whole nother leg higher, and you may get that. You may get that. So I think as of now, again, the higher time frames are probably bearish as well. Let's look here. Let's look here. This one's holding up on the weekly a little better than the other one, BTDR. The monthly is still bearish a little bit, but this one's more bullish of that one. So this one shows more promise. If anything, this one has a better chance of doing a bigger double and B than the other one. The higher time frames don't look as bearish to me on this one. Right? Yeah, because we haven't broke the trend. We're about to. That will create the next leg lower. So you can watch the weekly cycle. Once you break that, then the next leg lower starts. So we can't rule out on this another bounce. We can't rule out another bounce. There is a possibility. Now I see 5 down. If it's 5 down, then there is no more bounce. Now if this is wrong, then you could still get another bounce in B. But it looks like it's about to decide that very soon. Right? Very soon. Would I be surprised if it goes? I wouldn't be surprised if it does something like this. I wouldn't be surprised. But as of now, we'll go with this chart. Oh, okay. If I skip one, just let me know. As you can see, I get flooded with these super chats. It's hard to see them all the time. Minerals. All right. We see a lot. We had seen a lot of wave 5s in the minerals, but they all turned into wave 3s overnight. Again, Why I keep saying time in the market is quite foolish in these instruments, because the wave threes are extending. Now this one looks like it's going to do its own 20-year breakout in any soon, right? So time in the market is not recommended, but we should see a pullback unless we've already erased divergence, and we'll figure that out in a minute. Okay, we'll figure out in a minute if we've erased divergence or not. Okay. All right, so we still have a bearish divergence here, but not on the higher time frame. I suspect that it's about to risk divergence. So we're going to go with. So I think it's about to continue to extend higher. Right, something like that. Right, so I think it's because it's obviously in wave 3 on the higher time frame. The question is, on the shorter time frame, is it done up 5? Like, is it going to do a pullback here or not? You know, we have a little bit of divergence here and a little bit here. So we don't want wave 3 to be the shortest either. Let me just look at the wave count overall. All right, based on my eye, that's not the shortest there. So we don't want, if I made this 3, that's okay, that's 4. Yeah, you know, I think this is one of the metals that can do that. This is the most bullish. We're going to know, I think, again, Monday or Tuesday. But then there's another count that I can do this. We just saw. All right. You're still in 3, and then you get a pullback, which is completely viable, right? And then it's go time. I mean, vertical action. You know, up 5 waves up. We don't see signs of this pullback happening yet, but if it's going to happen, it needs to happen like Monday. So we don't know yet, but my bet would be the way things are going, higher. Okay, so I'm going to give you this chart for now. So we need more data, but ultimately, bigger picture, you know it's coming to break the all-time high. Now, normally on a chart like this, the first touch of the all-time high, even if you usually get slammed back down, usually. And then you come out. That's the idea of the cup and handle. Usually you just don't go vertical through it. You know, we can look at the personality like fractal. So let's look at the last time. So here we had that big correction, and here you see how we broke the all-time high here, or close to it. It got that little pullback, and then look, it just kind of kept melting up. You're going to get the same kind of action out of this, right? So you're probably trading this stock, right, as if it was right here today. You're probably right there. That's probably where you are. See the fractal, and then look what happened. That's probably what's about to happen here. All right. RR is trying to like decide, am I a small cap? Should I break out with the small caps? Am I part of this AI, stuff that they want to slam back down? Good thing about RR is it broke the high here. It looks, now the problem is torn by this because I'm keeping an eye on it. It looks like 3 waves up, but that looks like 5 waves down. And let's take a look. See that? We erased divergence. So it's a triple. So a very tricky chart. And we don't see 5 waves up. So we will label it as a 1-2. Right? Moving in 3. And then this mess is probably bears losing control of the market. The bulls are regaining control. So you know what? Maybe Nah, that's too big. I wouldn't put this as a flat. So I think we just leave it this way, but I believe it's got more upside. So we're moving in 3 waves. So we're going to call it. We're moving in 3 waves off the low. Like that. And then this is a triple. And then this is another 3 waves. But we're still in the path. So we're still in C. So we're still in 3 as of now. Now, normally we would not put 3 here. So, because we didn't erase divergence. So I'm going to label it like this. And maybe this is a very tough chart. I don't know, like sometimes I don't have a good way to label these charts. This may be one example. Just looking at it here, it looks like it wants to end this cycle lower, and then this does look like 5, but I wouldn't put 3 there. So I'd probably do something like this. And then put 3 there, 4, and then 5. And if it does this, it will be very choppy and overlapping. And then once you get 5, it would come back down. This is why trading calls and stuff like this, I don't even know if you can buy calls on this if it has options, but like it's so tough because look, it basically goes nowhere for a long time before it can break out. So I think it's got something like this kind of look, unless it can turn very corrective in nature and squeeze out. So I think we'll go with this view for now. And let me take another look at this. Oh, you know what? We're moving in 3 waves. So that actually helps things. Okay, so that actually makes sense. Now the chart makes a little more sense. I didn't see that at first. So there we go. Okay, now things are making a lot more sense. Okay, so we'll do something like this and come out and then pull back again. Right, it should do something like that. Okay, so we're probably in this X wave of this leg. So I'll try to give a dip buy if you want to play it. That'll be like 356. Right around here. All right, and that's what I would look for, something like that. Let's see if that plays out like that. Okay. All right. KBM. Let's look at KBM. KMB. I'm sorry, KMB. Yeah, how is Kimberly Clark doing these days? Whew. Well, that looks like it could be a potential buy area. I mean, just, you know, I've been doing this so long. Let's see if we'll check the rest of it out. But yeah, see, it's in a buy, but we need to make sure the whole view makes sense. So let's look at the overall picture on the monthly cycle. So you see the peak way back here, and then you had this big cycle. So you have a 1-2. So this is likely a 1-2-1-2. So yeah, this looks pretty good. So let's take a look and see if we can label this. That looks like the peak here. So that would be a 1-2 right there, right? Let me just verify that real quick. Yeah, we took that peak out. Now, it looks only like 3 waves up. This is important to get right here. Now, we look at this as 5 down. Let's go to a shorter time frame and see if we can see any divergence, and we do. So it's a flat. So put the 1 there. So that's the structure. A little run-in flat, nothing big. And then we come out. And again, you could say, oh, it's a 3, 4, 5. But I don't like putting 3 there with no peak momentum. You know, while we do have it here, I just don't want to put, I have a feeling that let me look at this one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's a cycle. Boom. And then you have another 5 up here. Yeah, you know what? There's no other label that works for this. This is why we had to look at it better. So my guess is it's 5, but obviously since it doesn't have a peak, the full peak in 3, it means it's going to have a massive upside move in the future. I don't know when it's going to happen. This could be now. We are seeing healthcare more bullish, even if it's going to pull back here. So there you go. There's your opportunity. Friday could have been it. I don't know why it would be bullish. I don't know what these guys are up to these days, but that's the chart we're seeing. And we will go with that view. Let me look again at the monthly. What's interesting about this chart is this RSI did not break this level, did not reset the whole correction. So that tells me, so there's 2 possibilities with this too. It means it's going to either double correct and do that. So it's either going to bounce here and make another low later, and then the RSI will complete the picture that's missing, right? Or are we extending a cycle? Are we extending a cycle? Right? That's 1, 2. Should I put 4 here and then do 5 like that? So that's another question. So let's see if that's the case or not. I don't think so, because to do that, we need a flat. That looks like, to me, 5 swings up, and then this only looks like 3 down, not 5. So it doesn't make sense. So we'll go with the more bullish interpretation. However, because the monthly RSI did not reset completely, be aware there's always a risk of a double correction. But I wouldn't worry about a double correction at this point until you get there. Now, let's see if we can go deeper in the box, because I'm more curious. Let's look at our specific count here. So it looks like you're moving in 3 waves of some kind. So we want to see a 3-wave move down, an ABC. All right, so we have our first little dip here. So there's our peak. So there's our first wave. So there's your 1, 2, 3. So it's actually moving in 3 here. So we'll do a WX, and then we have Y, and we have 5. So yeah, all right. So it seems like it's coming into the box, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes deeper in the box, and that will resolve the monthly the problem we have on the monthly cycle. Right? I wouldn't be surprised if it does something like that, and then that will resolve that issue, and then the monthly resets. So this is an area you'll have to play the long game on. But I think it probably will go lower in the box. Okay, based on this wave here. It doesn't look complete. And in fact, I could even label this as a 1, 2, potentially 3, 4, 5. And then this would become an A, B, C, and then we'd come to the bottom of the box. So I'm going to go more with this view for now. But I think it's not done yet. Obviously, it's not done yet. We have no bounce. But I believe the RSI is telling us it needs a little more capitulation. We need a little more people to give up on it. So there's still some sellers there's sellers that need to be shaken out. We need buyers shaken out. I'm sorry, buyers shaken out more. But it is in the area. Okay, thanks guys. Yeah, I messed up, so you got free analysis on American Airlines. Thank you guys for the kind words. WRN. Western Copper and Gold Corporation, again, probably breaking out soon. Remember, the first test usually rejected, but not always. We don't have a lot of chart history on this. Don't have a lot of data because it's been essentially in a bear market, right? So we don't have we can't look at the fractal to see what would happen. It's never been bullish. It's never had a bullish cycle. So it shows like some kind of 5 waves down here. This is a tough chart. So only way I could analyze it is we go from this low. And so we're basically bullish from this low. We are seeing, we're seeing as of now, divergence or race. So we're just going to continue to label it from that low based on what we see. And it looks like, to me, it's moving in 3 waves. Let's go to the monthly. Yeah, it's moving in 3 waves. So it's moving in 3 waves. So it's probably not complete yet. It's probably still got, as you can see, I had 3. You're going to need you're going to need the same thing. So it's in Y. Y doesn't look like the subdivisions are finished, right? You're going to have a pullback and another high at some point. So we can look at that. It looks like we're getting close to that 5 waves as of now. It may erase divergence, right? And even that's moving in 3. So we'll continue to label it this way. So there's X. So you're still in Y here. So you have probably an A, B, C. So probably more upside is coming. More upside short term. But it looks like it maybe do a pullback. And maybe do a pullback. And then another push higher. Then it likely will do a much bigger pullback. And then even another swing higher later based on this. So that's what I would be looking for. So I think I mean, this looks like 5 waves up. It looks like it wants, to take a breather here. And I would be expecting that. Now, we know with these really bullish instruments, it doesn't have to do that. So just know that, we see these extend quite often now. So we'll just see where we end up with here. Something like that. So we're in this 5. Right, we're in this 5 here. So understand that A could be in soon and we get a pullback, but I would look for that. It'd be viable. And then C, and then there could be a much bigger peak. Just like you saw, not as large of a consolidation, but something that you'll see on the monthly chart, right? You're gonna see it. Here you don't see any. You're gonna see some kind of like multi-year consolidation, but that would result in more upside, most likely. And then the whole thing could end at that point. Is copper a buy now? It depends on your time horizon. It's always a buy based on how much you're willing to risk and all that. So I do think copper goes higher. So if you believe in buying it, I mean, I think the charts all point to more upside for long-term holders. And I cover copper in my elite group, so we cover that. But yeah, basically copper's gonna go, and I think copper's where the system breaks. Right, copper will break the system. Silver probably won't. I mean, silver may break a bank or something, and that could break the system. But I think like oil shut down the world economy, copper will shut down manufacturers, which shuts down the economy. I think copper going too high will do that. And that's about to happen, I believe. Sentinel-1. The only thing that can hurt copper is a massive recessionary scare or some catastrophe that will shut down the global economy. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're getting there. Just kind of grinding lower. It may not make it to the target, but you want to just wait. Once this cycle ends, then of course the low's in. So it may truncate, but the overall view is where we have it. And again, it's software. Software's in a bear market. No one wants software anymore because they're worried about AI. AI is gonna obsolete some of these software companies. Not all of them, but some of them will be gone, and they won't be able to adapt, and that will be the end of them. So once this low breaks, I believe you'll get more of the panic selling, the 3 of 3 selling. All right, crypto, ADA. We always say with crypto, it has to hold the flash crash lows to be good. If it can do that, everything's okay. Okay, everything's okay if it can hold the flash crash lows. If it can't, then the chart's in a lot of danger. I wouldn't personally hold anything that breaks those lows. All right, ADA shows only 3 waves up. That's not good. I mean, it's okay, but it's like always a little worrisome, right? Now we have 5 waves up. Looks like 5 waves down from here, but looks can be deceiving. Let's look what we got. But yeah, we do have 5 waves down. Let's look at this daily cycle. Let's see, we erased divergence. So like I said, looks can be deceiving. So this is actually, that could be the low. So it's not a 5, it's a W. So this may hold. And what this could turn into is like a lead-in diagonal off the low. Or something else, right? It could turn into a lot of things. So we have right now 1, 2, right? And this would be like super cycle degree or grand super cycle, however you want to label it. And then this has a couple possibilities, but you see you'll have 3 down. It hit the buy area. Now it's trying to come back and breach the low. As you can see, there's not a lot of space, not a lot of margin of error. This could be corrective. If it's corrective, it will double correct, just like it did here, but on a larger degree. And if it does that, it'll be a shakeout. Break these lows, right? So as of now, as long as it can hold that flash crash low, there's a chance that it can come out of this. But it doesn't. I mean, I'll be honest, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. But right now, it's the market. I think crypto in general is trying to figure out, is it gonna try to squeeze higher or not? Right, that's what it's trying to do. Right, it's trying to figure out, should it squeeze higher or not? And that's the question it needs to answer. So as of now, we will give it the benefit of the doubt that that's the major low, because it did hit the box, it did rally from this low. But as long as you're above it, we won't assume the bearish case, the perma bearish, the real bearish case, until the chart tells us to. So we have some kind of top. Good luck finding the subdivisions. We just have to assume that's 1, and now that would be 2, right? Because this bounce ended the cycle. Right, this bounce obviously ended that downtrend. That downtrend only looks like 5 waves down, but again, we don't know the subdivisions in here, right? 1 could be here, right? If I put 1 there, it's a flat, so I can call that finished. So the point is, the cycle ended there. The downtrend ended. You're in a new uptrend. The price has to stay above that level then. The price really needs to stay above 32.89, and now you have 3 down. Right, 3 up. It's very difficult to see. Let's go to the 45-minute. We have some divergence there. I mean, I think, I would label it again, just labeling it at the chart on the own. I'd label it like this. All right, and this is where I was like, do what's best for you. If we break these levels, then it could double correct. It could even just double correct in 2 and shake you out, erase divergence. It would be hard to do that because the bounce was so big. It would likely, but if we break that low here, if we break this low here, that's when it gets ugly. So I think we'll just keep the interpretation that the chart has told us for now, and you can do with this information as you see fit. I mean, I think it's risky to buy it because if you're wrong, you could lose a lot of money. But that's the risk-reward equation going on right now in the marketplace. But if I look at this, the only problem, I wish this was 5 waves up. That would have given us more confidence. It isn't. So this can easily go down again in a double, right? This can easily because again, we can't see the subdivisions in this one. We don't know if it's 5 or 3. We don't know. But if it's 3, it could be W, X, Y, and we could get that final shakeout, okay, and break these lows, and then find the bottom. I think we're going to know very soon. So this is the bullish interpretation, but I would say it's dangerous because of the three waves here. Okay, and then of course this would be labeled as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how we label it. So it'll take some time to come out. It'll take years to come out of this if this happens, more than likely. Okay. All right, SWLGX. Let's take a look at that here. Large cap growth. Okay, cool. I like looking at those kind of funds. And BBAI. That's one I haven't seen in a while. Let's take a look at BBAI. Hard to see this because there's no, it's data. It probably looks like the indices basically vertical. Now, I always analyze it the same way. Look, the peak is way back here. Okay, so, and your RSI has not, so that could, this could become something, let's go to the monthly. Let me just look at it one more time. 3, 4, 1, 2, see how we took that divergence out here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like the NASDAQ chart. This looks like the NASDAQ. This is the NASDAQ chart, right? That it's a 5, it's a 4. So NASDAQ, we still predict one more high, right? We have 3, 4, 5. That's what we predict in the Qs, right? One more high. And then the end of the grand super cycle, right? So this is what we're predicting. We just don't have the beginning. This fund maybe didn't exist. So we don't have like the beginning data correctly, but what I believe we if I was trying to label it, I'll probably label it somehow like 1, 2, something like that as of now. And then this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something like this. And then that's let me look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3, 4, 5. Maybe it's a flat here. Yeah, that's what it looks like happened here, flat. And then we came out. So this is why the bears, this is even me, like, hey, one more high, and then all hell breaks loose because we'd come all the way back down to $6, $7 in growth. Now, I believe this is the count. Now, if we erase divergence, right? If we can erase divergence, and they can do that. Let me go back to the monthly here. So if we could take this peak out, then it's melt up mania mode, like mania, because then this would become, like we talked 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We'd see 3 of 3. And again, that may not be good for society. It'll be good for our 401k accounts to watch them go up. But God knows what that means for the financial system. But it is a valid count. That's called the Moon Boy count. We always joked around with the Moon Boy count. To me, the only way that could happen would be hyperinflation, dollar collapse. And I always said that be careful what you wish for, perma bulls, because you may not like the outcome. Because it's great that your balance will go up 200-300%, but when like bread costs $20 a loaf and gas is $10 a gallon, like you probably would rather it not have pumped. And that's what maybe Trump will regret, and all the other pumpers that forced him to cave and become Trump 1.0 is when this happens. If this happens in the United States and we're in this catastrophe calamity, they're going to look back and blame all the pumping and all the printing. And those people should be held accountable for this recklessness and poor risk management of the financial system. And that may be the outcome of this. And that's why I'm saying it's great to pump, but if it gets out of hand, you can't put the genie back out. Ask all the nations that have had hyperinflation how they were, that they were able to stop it once the fever takes hold of the general public and the marketplace. So right now, growth. Let's look at this one. I don't have enough data here, and it's making the decision, right? So we have 4 can be done, right? And then this could be tech breaking out, right? I told you tech could break out like next week and do this or pump. But if we do the double, which is what I think, you get a bigger pullback, right? And it's buyable back here. So we don't know the answer to that question. I think it goes back down. Okay, but we'll know soon enough. But I do think it makes another high because you can't end on 3 swings like this. Okay. Right. Now, Elliott wave theory does talk about flats. It can say the 5 is in, and we talk about this. The 5 is in, and we're in a flat. And A, B, because it's 3, this 3-wave subdivide is a 5, and we come all, and it's a flat. Now, Elliott wave theory says the B wave doesn't have a distance. It can be as big as your imagination, like, but we know in practical terms, and like being intellectually honest, at some point the B wave becomes a 3-wave. Okay, so yes, if I was a perma bear, I would put 5 here, and then I would do this: A, B, C, and that's perfectly allowed by Elliott wave theory alone on its own. But practical application and real world experience says that this type of thing almost never happens. Because if it were to happen, the flat is always a crash. The C wave is always a crash straight down because it's an impulse in a channel. I mean, this would be something we have never seen before. Like, this would be like, I mean, God, what a sight to be seen. Technology going essentially straight down to $6. I mean, I don't know what would cause that to happen, but that would be something to see, and we're not seeing signs of that yet. But if we do, you know, we will go to that count, but that's a perma bear count. So we have to expect this is some kind of 4 and 5. And since 3 is kind of short, 5 would be very small bounce. Okay. But because it's short, it also, I can't rule out the Moon Boy. We can't rule out Moon Boy. All right. We can't rule out Moon Boy. So Moon Boy is possible in this count. Moon Boy is possible. I can't rule it out. So we go with this view. And this is our view on technology. And it's been our view. BBAI is kind of a really difficult chart to kind of get through. But let's try. We do have a higher high. So yes, we do expect it to go higher at one point. It's just, what is this mass? So we have 3 waves down. And then we have this incomplete structure. It looks like another 3 waves down. Let's take a look at the daily cycle. Well, man, 5, maybe 5 down on that. So we got 5. So A, B, C. So I would label it something like this. W, X, Y. Almost looks like the quantum charts. Quantum. Maybe it trades kind of together with that speculation. Only showing 3 and 3 and 3. Of course, it's in the middle area. So market doesn't make it easy on us. I can keep a bullish interpretation, guys, just like this. There's no reason to be bearish. Let me check. Let me validate that real quick. I got to look at this better. Yep. I can label it this way. This is just like the quantum. This is the quantum charts. It's the same kind of setup. So that's very valid. The other count that this is some kind of triangle connector, right? And we go lower, right? And that means we're still in X here, right? And then this is 1, 2, 3. And then this is an X wave and a bigger W. So you have W, X, Y, W, X, Y. So it's at an inflection point. So either this triangle is finished and it's going to melt down, or we don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying. The market's about to make a huge decision. Do we pump and then crash later, or are we going to correct properly, have a proper correction in 2026, and then really pump after that correction? That's what the market is trying to figure out. It does show signs of a triangle, but I would just keep the bullish interpretation on it, because there's no reason to suspect it would go lower, and you do have this higher high here. And like I mentioned, that's usually a clue to bias yourself on the bullish side or the side of that trend. So I'm going to bias it a little bit more on the bullish side. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens early next week. Okay. Target, if it breaks down, would be 353. So we'll draw a box. So this is your target if it breaks down right in here. Okay, Veil looks pretty good. And we've been telling our members that was on breakout watch, and we've been not disappointed in that. No dip, no proper correction, just complete vertical mania. And again, we had this buy on live streams. This is where I was introduced to this on a live stream. This symbol, I didn't know anything about it. And so this has just been easy money. I really thank whoever recommended this. And there's really no reason to trade it. I was telling our elite members this was about to go 3 of 3, and it did. So again, it's hard to, I mean, I can't stress enough why what I've been, the message I'm saying is like, listen to my word. I mean, so we're in 3 of 3 territory. Let's take a look at what we have on our higher time frames. No divergence, melting up. Shorter time frame, even the shorter time frames in 3 of 3, and I would expect more upside. Looking at this, it can even be more bullish, and it probably is because there's a lot of ground to make up on the bearish side. It could be a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. I wouldn't be surprised if it's that, like that, like that. So that's probably what it is. Let's look at the bigger picture. Again, bigger picture. Again, keep saying penny wise, pound foolish. Again, look what I'm showing. It's eventually going to take out this all-time high. I don't know how long it will take. Obviously, it has a personality of going pretty parabolic, pretty vertical quickly. Obviously breaking the downtrend line, I think, from the historic chart, or right up against it. Did it break out? Is that why it probably broke out? Let's see where it is right now. Just about to break out. It did. It closed above it. So yeah, you got the historic bear market is over. So long-term investors are finally getting their day in the sun of this instrument. It took a long time to come out of this. And really, it ended here, but now you're hopefully seeing a breakout, right? This is not one to day trade. This is one you tuck away for a rainy day, right? You tuck away. Like I don't know how else I can say it. Don't time it. Just don't overthink it. Right, and I've been telling, I covered this almost every day with my members while it was starting to build this push out. Just no real opportunity. We had the opportunity here, but there was like but that's why it's going mania mode now. Mania mode. All right, guys. BR. I'll cover BRKB and I'll wrap it up. Okay, BRKB, Berkshire. Class B. Yeah, Val chart looks like cliffs. Yeah, and that's another one, by the way. Yeah, no, it looks like a cyclical value, this kind of cyclical rotation, just like we saw in the 2000 to 2007 era. It looks like the same kind of trading environment we're moving into. That seems like maybe what we're going to see in the next 10 years, something like that. All right, Berkshire Hathaway. I don't know if you want the Class B shares or not. I think there's another symbol, but let me see here. I think because I have one charted already. It's one of these. I don't know which one I have. It's one of these I have charted. That's the B. I'm trying to think. I think let me see which one I have. This one I don't finish. Is this one finished? Yeah, well, I'll just redo it. I don't have an updated one of these, so I'll just redo it. All right. So what do we have? BRKB, BRKB. Okay, Class B. We'll pick out, I guess, this one. I don't. All right. Interesting. I put a box here. I don't know. I guess we need to ignore the boxes for. I have no idea what this is. I don't have it labeled. So let's look. All right. So monthly chart, the peak way back here. So that typically means we haven't, believe it or not, seen the real wave 3, although it is correcting the grand supercycle, right? It's about to break this low. It already did, actually. So it's correcting the grand. So to me, we're going to see more upside at some point. It's probably in a 1-2. Well, no, we can't say a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. So see how we break this low here? Let's go to the monthly. I mean the weekly. Just holding that pivot. There's a small, but see the peak here is too early as well. And just kind of looking at it, I thought his company was around more than this, or maybe these shares just were new. I don't know. All right, so let me. There seems to be some kind of data missing in the early part of the chart, so I don't know if it'll be properly analyzed. But let me see if there's another one. Let's look at some of these other ones. I mean, I'll try that. I think we'll just have to go. Yeah, we'll just go with this one. So if I'll study the chart on its own and give you my viewpoint on it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's only moving in 3 waves off of this low. I think we're missing the early part of the chart. But so I'm only going to label the chart IC. All right. And it's moving in 3 waves. So I can't label it any other way because that's the chart we have in front of us. Let me just look at the monthly one more time. Yeah, I mean, some kind of A, B, 1, 2. So there's your B, there's your C, and then there's 3 waves up from here. So I suspect it's just going to do a double, right? Obviously it has a lower low. So ignoring the front part of the chart, we would likely see more upside in this instrument, but it does look like it's correcting down to 7,108. So it does look like you're going to see a pullback here. This is the box where it could rally. Okay. And again, I'm just looking at it in 3 waves. It seems I don't have all the data in the front part of this chart that I'd like. There's something missing to me, but yeah, I think yeah, I don't even know if that front part's right. This may be one of those examples where we may not be able to analyze it just because the data is inconsistent. But I'm gonna just try another way of getting at it. Only 3 up on that. So if I'm labeling it from Elliott wave theory, I think we'll just, you know what we'll do is we'll just use pure Elliott wave theory and label it and then go from there. So this would be pure Elliott wave theory. It lines up with our financial forecast because we have financials start in a super cycle 4 or a cycle 4 and then one more high. So this lines up with that. So I think we'll go with this count. The RSI is messed up in this instrument for some reason. It's not helpful. So we'll look for something like this. So we're looking for a bounce here, dip buy at 7,000, and that should produce another high. And see, it's kind of it just coincidentally tags the trend line. So that's what I'd be looking for, and then one more high. Now it can always extend, but I think we'll go with this count, something like this. It's nothing else works that I can see. Something's wrong with the RSI. It doesn't seem right for me. Okay, so I think we'll go with this. This is what I'll go with, and this lines up with the financial forecast. Okay, our XLF and stuff. That I think we're in a bigger pullback with one more high on the grand super cycle. Okay, so this lines up, and that's what this is. Essentially, it's a financial. Yeah, it owns the companies, but it trades with like the financials. All right, guys, I think I'm done for this morning, this afternoon. Appreciate the super chats and everything. And again, if you found this helpful, please consider joining my channel. I give a lot of these same analysis and ideas to all our members, and I try to present different trade ideas, and not all of them work, but the ones that do typically really work, and that's the whole point. And hope everyone has a good weekend. May be able to do another live stream Sunday night like I did last time, so look for that. If you missed me, I'll try to put